And we are live. All right, guys, what's going on? Zerse here, and today I'm with Double G, and we're going to talk about our experiences with feminism, growing up with it. And Jay's going to talk to us about his experience being a gay man and growing up with all of this stuff. So, Jay, you have the floor. You start us off, man.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Double G, and me and Bas, we have exchanged a few comments, and we have talked about feminism, how is it affecting, it's kind of changing the society. And I was trying to explain to him, I was trying to give him my personal experience, not only as a gay man, but as a man, in a very feminist, how can I say, environment or society. And it's not good. It's not good because the what I was trying to explain to Bas before is that a lot of people think that there is this sort of good, nice friendship between gay men and feminism, but actually no, that's not true at all. And sometimes it's just not the case because, as I was saying before, sometimes I do go to a gay and lesbian organization here where I'm living in my city here in Switzerland, and there are a lot of gay men who share the exact same thoughts. They are very there I can sense the frustration. A lot of them are very kind of disappointed, but a lot of them are telling me, well, it is what it is, but what can we do? Because it's like you're confronting a force that is very powerful. I think that they have built such a strong, powerful, should I say, ideological lobby. I don't really know how to put it, but it's very difficult to go against this current ideology. It's very difficult because as soon as you challenge it, you get a lot of dirty looks. Well, I would start by saying now that this is the first experience that I got when I was living in Italy until 15 years ago. Until the late 1990s, when I did have many feminist friends, and a lot of them were also in gay and lesbian organizations. But well, they weren't very friendly because they were usually, well, very anti-male. And this is the thing that I don't, not only I don't understand, but also I don't accept. It's the fact that uh, I'm a gay man, I'm attracted to men, right? So why on earth would I ever be the ally of those who keep shaming men and trashing men and exposing men as a danger, right? So that is certainly not only wrong, but it's also counterproductive. To me, it makes no sense at all. But then I moved to England. I lived there for 3 years, and I've seen a lot of things that were very wrong. All right, the way feminists were basically trolling in the in job seeker organizations. And then I moved here in Switzerland in 2007, and I've seen just crazy stuff. I've seen organizations, like there is an organization here which is supposed to, and it's financed by the state, by the way, and it's supposed to help victims of violence, all right, like violence in the streets. But in the end, this organization, I can go there. If you come here, I can take you there anytime. I can take you anytime. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, that organization is supposed, in theory, to help victims of violence, but in practice, that is a feminist nest. A lot of them are feminist women. Some of them I know they're lesbian feminists. There are some radical feminists and lesbian separatists who are incredibly anti-male. And last time I was in this organization, that is, again, like I said before, it's in theory it's supposed to help victims of violence, of crime, but you go there and it's completely, you know, giving this idea that no matter what, women are victims. And I saw there were like hundreds and hundreds of brochures, and all these brochures were about women being victims, women being victims of violence, of domestic violence, of rape. And there were the very few brochures about men were basically showing men as batterers, as violent men. And if you go there as a man, you're going to see that the only kind of aid that you're going to get from them is if you identify with the man who has this sort of bad temper who wants to hit women. It's just completely insane. The whole thing is just completely insane, just crazy. I know you could read posters. I should go there and take pictures because it's just ridiculous. You can read posters hanging on the wall, and they're basically there. You can see a man with a very bad face, with a very bad attitude, and there is written on that poster, sometimes I'm so angry that I want to beat my wife or something like that. It's the whole thing is like it's coming from a ridiculous movie. It's like from a grotesque character from a ridiculous comedy. All right. And when I went to the gay and lesbian organization and I had a word with the president, he is a man, he's a gay man, he's a very good man actually. He's a very smart and very good man. He told me, look, it's all wrong, but we can't do much about it because they're powerful. I think they're getting the money. I think they have the right connections. I think that they have the good connections high in politics, and so uh, he, I could sense the frustration coming from a gay man who is well aware of what's going on, and it got so ridiculous that if I go to the lake, now this city is nearby the lake, and if you go near the lake, there is like some sort of an area with a pool, a swimming pool. I don't want to say it's a beach. No, it's not a beach. It's an artificial thing. But basically, I went there, last summer, and there was written, "Espace réservé aux femmes," which means this safe is just reserved for women. Basically, no men allowed. All right. I went there, and I was really upset about that, and I wanted to have a word with someone about it, because it really upset me. It's like, can you imagine you go to a place and you read no Jews allowed or no blacks allowed or whatever, whatever. That would never be tolerated. But apparently, if they write only women are allowed in this space, then it's perfectly fine and nobody has a problem with it. I had a problem with it. And I had a word with this very nasty woman, and she gave me that look, that very bad look, and she said, "Oh, parce que les hommes, ils dérangent les femmes, because men usually harass women," and I was saying, "I'm a gay man. How the hell am I going to harass a woman? I don't even look at women." And she was saying, things like, "Oh, how do we know?" And we can't really make the difference, And so I was just, it's crazy. It's completely crazy. But now today you can go to any bank, any shopping center, shopping malls. You can go to the post
Mm-hmm.
office, and every single person that is working there, at the counter or the desk, they're all women. They are they're taking over all white collar positions, all white collar jobs. And
It's pretty much all the easy jobs.
the easy indoor jobs, desk jobs, all the jobs where you get to sit your ass on a chair and well, basically that's it. They avoid all hard jobs like a disease, and they're calling this equality. That's not equality. Sometimes it's crazy. It's like a twilight zone, because you go to a shopping mall, or like I said before, the post office, you go to a clinic, and you only see women from the first one to the last one, and you're thinking, where the hell are the men? But last time I went to Barcelona, in July, I went on a cruise around the Mediterranean Sea. So I had to catch a plane to go to Barcelona in Spain. When I came back and I went back again to Barcelona International Airport, I noticed once again that there were only women. Every single count, all the people working there were women. All right, and some of the stewardess, the ground attendants, I had a word with them, because I'm not scared. I just go there and I talk to them and I confront them to understand their shit. And I
Mhm.
and I said to a woman, but I don't understand, where are all the men? I only see women working here. And one of them, she said to another woman in Spanish, "Eres un machista." But I speak Spanish and I understand. Machista means he is a chauvinist, sexist man. And I said, "No, I understand that. And actually, it's not about sexism. I'm just asking you, where are all the men?" And the other woman said, "Yeah," I said. The other woman said, "Oh, all men are they're upstairs, pointing to the ceiling, to the top, the highest levels." It's like saying, "Oh, because you don't see them because they're all in positions of power and leadership. They're on the important rooms." Uh, you know, you only needed to look out of the window and look at the people who work on the ramp, on the airfields, doing the shittiest jobs, and they were all men. And I know that perfectly well, that because since 1999 until 2004, for 5 years, I worked at an international airport in South Italy, and it was already crazy because I had like 100 colleagues, and we had to basically unload and load luggage and goods on inside the airplane cargo, and it was only men. Now, if you think that they were only men working in the airport, no, because all the people working inside, in the office, in the cozy office with the air conditioning, with the cooling, no, the cool water, those were all women. I Today I understand very well what's going on, and this is the reason why I don't believe. Uh, of course, I don't believe in feminists and their bullshit when they say that they're after gender equality. They don't want that, and I usually call them gender parasites because that's what they are.
Oh
But
yeah,
I am,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. But I am particularly, I have massive doubts. Now there is this sort of cool and trendy new episode. What's going on today is that there are some cool and trendy women who are basically saying online or in society that they are against feminism, and they say, "Oh no, I don't believe in feminism, but I'm for equality." And I think that that's just not just to me. Now what
It's
I'm
probably
seeing,
just jargon, yeah, like just a bunch of words.
yeah, those are
Because if you
words.
really, yeah, when you really think about equality, you really understand how much of a pipe dream it is. You can't really
Exact.
split us down exactly to the middle, man or woman. Either you have to have us be either complementary or, reach for this impossible dream of us being treated the same way in every situation, which is nonsense. But go ahead.
It's just
It's
impossible.
floor.
It's just impossible. No, I should no, I do agree with you. In fact, many years ago, I used to think that, maybe feminism is wrong, but we could still believe in gender equality. Today, I just give up because it's just it can't. It's just impossible. It's not going to happen. It won't happen because in the end, it's like nobody wants to see women doing the hardest jobs, all right? But
Yeah.
nobody has a problem with women getting positions of power. So how is that egalitarian? That's not egalitarian at all. You can't have absolute equality. Gender equality is just technically impossible to achieve. You can have a vague idea, a very random idea, but in the end, it's not going to be a real thing. So now I have not only have doubts on feminists, but I also have doubts on the ones who say, okay, I don't believe in feminists, but I still believe in gender equality. And there, I have a few doubts on that
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Because no, that makes perfect sense when you really think about it. Um, but I will give those people, I give them the benefit of the doubt, because what I'm sure most of them mean is that they're for the equality of opportunity, and that the law shouldn't hinder you or nothing should hinder you from doing your dreams except your lack of ability to do so. And to
Sure.
that extent, I'm like, yeah, of course. I don't think anyone really is against that. But as far as
Yeah,
making it
that's the
50,
theory. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, if they're saying 50-50 equality, we the same way. No, that's nonsense. That our not even just our social perceptions, but our biological realities make it impossible for us to be treated 100% 50-50 in most cases. And there's
Yeah.
a
Well,
couple of things I'm thinking of at the top of my head that I can call out and show you that no one really thinks that we should be equal. But I'll save that for later if you want. You still have the floor. Go ahead.
no, no. It's just no, no, no. I agree because in the end, that's the theory, and like you said before, yes, in theory, we should have equal opportunities and equal rights. Of course, I think that we should all, you know, who would disagree on that, that people should be treated? Yes, I would agree. But when you see the current situation and you look at the laws and you think, you start to realize that actually these laws are giving us a completely different story. You know, equal opportunities, but whenever it comes to separation, divorce, child custody, alimony, and, you know, all these things, and you see, where are equal opportunities? There are no. They are no equal. They're not campaigning. They're saying that they're campaigning for equal opportunities and equal rights. But uh, the more you investigate, and the more you find out that they're doing the exact opposite of what they are preaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, quotas. But I don't know. I just saw. I'm just seeing here that there is a lot of unfairness, but this unfairness, it's like you can't really talk about it, because if you talk about this kind of unfairness, then you're not politically correct, and you're not, you know, you're being disrespectful, or you're being discriminating against, or you're being sexist. But, you know, it's all down to absurd double standards that make no sense at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so it's get, you know, it was quite bad in Italy when I moved to England, and I went to, you know, I lived there for a little more than 3 years. And my mother is English, you know, my English family lives there. You know, I was going to job centers, you know, they're called Job Center Plus, and it's basically organizations that are financed, of course, by the state, and they're there to help you find a job. And once again, you see that most of them are women, and they usually, you know, what I saw is that they were not very friendly, to be honest. You know, and I got the exact same. You know, I could sense the exact same thing. I could see the exact same thing when I went to this organization here in my city here in Switzerland, and where the way they treat women, you know, it's like, would you like a coffee? If you need any help, if you need you know, any attention, or if you need something to be translated, there is this sort of passion in helping. But if it's a man going there, you know, and I was there, and I got the look like, what do you want? What are you doing here? You know, it's just insane. It's just completely fucking insane. So when I went back to the gay and lesbian organization, and I had a word with the president of the organization there, and I explained to him everything I saw, and I told him that that is just absurd. It's just bullshit. He said, I agree with you, but this is the way it is, and what can we do about it? When I pointed out the fact that if you go to the lake and you basically see, you know, spaces that are just only women are allowed to go there, and men are not allowed to. Doesn't matter whatever you are. And he said, but look, you see, the fight is that they fight for these rights, for these special rights and these special treatment. But men don't really fight for these things. Uh,
Well, I'd say more like they complain for them. They're not really fighting and pulling off any legislation or anything like that.
well, yeah, they sure, yeah, I would agree, because they do complain, but they get things when whenever they complain.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's the point. So, and he was saying the problem is that men usually don't really complain. They don't want to complain, either because they probably fear someone's going to make fun of them, or I don't know. I think that a lot of men don't want to complain. First, because it's not in men's nature to complain. Men prefer to act instead of just sitting their ass and complaining about things. But it's
Yeah.
also because there is this idea, you know, okay, even if I complain, who's going to give a shit about what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so
And
they
that one
just,
guy kind of proved it. Yeah. He didn't. He just kind of folded and said, "It is what it is. It's not fair, but what can we do?"
yeah, yeah, exact. So, well, basically, that's what I saw here, and you know, it's very annoying, very annoying. You know, all these gender quotas that you have to. It, it's just absurd. And I saw it when I was in Italy. I saw it when I was in England, and you know, it's just it's getting weird, weirder, and just crazy and crazier. And it's very upsetting. So you see, one thing that I want to make clear is that there are a lot of gay men who they don't like this. They don't like this at all. It's not that we hooray feminism. No, a lot of us are like, fuck that shit. It's just bullshit. It's just pure misanthropy. They treat men like they keep trashing and blaming men for all the craziest
Yeah,
things.
so even gay men aren't safe. Is that what you're saying? Even gay people get called misogynistic. Well, gay men get called misogynistic and all that other stuff.
Well, look, what I can tell you is that it's not going to happen if you agree 100% with what they're saying. All right, that
Okay.
I got the, when I was in Italy in the late 1990s and I had, feminist friends. They were nice and they were cool. They were being nice to me. They were being very friendly. But you were not supposed to criticize or to even raise questions. You were not supposed to, step out of the line and ask questions. You have to agree 100%. It's like a pure fascist sort of dictatorial ideology where you have to agree 100%. Not even 99%, you have to agree 100%. So whatever kind of shit they give you, mansplaining, manspreading, rape culture, whatever bullshit, you have to agree 100%. And I don't believe it's ever going to happen that gay men are going to, passively accept and, agree 100%. And that's the problem. You see, I think a lot of gay men will say, I don't see it that way. I just don't see it that way. And these laws are not there to favor, either a gay man or I don't know, minorities. These laws are just there for women. So you're not going to uh, have things in your favor unless you are a woman.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's what I said before when we exchanged those comments. It's like it's like this myth that is even crazier. That all
Yeah.
gay men. I have seen. Yes, I would say I usually make this division, this difference. There are some gay men who are very effeminate or very girly, and I would say that perhaps yes, they are probably very feminist or feminist friendly.
Yeah, I
But
can I can cut in and say
yeah,
one
sure, sure,
thing.
go
I
ahead.
have seen description.
Oh, sorry, I
Like
didn't hear that. It wasn't a good connection. Can you repeat that?
I said, yeah, I would completely agree. I have noticed that that is the case with a lot of the gaming that I've seen. Like whenever I do a lot of, I spend a lot of time listening to feminist ideas and thoughts and whatnot. And whenever I come across a lot of the men, well, men in general who err on the side of feminism
Mm.
are very effeminate, usually very soft-spoken, kind of, I guess, the one word we can all identify with are betas, I think,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
lack of a better word. But yeah, a lot of the gay men that I've seen in different videos, I've considered responding to. I'll tell you one video I did respond to,
Mm.
like what was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Definitely, this one gay man certainly fit that description. And so I can say here in America, there is a gigantic push, which I guess may not be 100% true, that a lot of gay people definitely line up with the feminist
Mm.
ideology. And that
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be the case now that I'm talking
Hmm.
to you. So go ahead.
Well, what I've noticed is that usually it's the what I would call the transgenders or the very effeminate gay men, or the sort of trans queer or gender queer, whatever you want to call them. And in that case, I think they would probably find, I don't know, more friendship or more understanding or more protection from feminists, probably. But there are a lot of gay men that you would even notice in the street, because the only kind of gay men you're going to notice in the street are the effeminate ones. But if, say, a gay man is straight, he is manly and straight acting, you're never going to think that you're just going to assume that that guy is straight, right? And a lot
Yeah.
of, the masculine ones, I strongly believe that they don't want to have anything to do with that, feminism, because it's not convince if you're a gay man and if you're a masculine, manly gay man, and you like masculinity, you like manly men, that's never going to be convenient, because they're not just trashing men, they're trashing masculinity. So if you hold masculinity dear to yourself, if you care about it and you like it, how are you ever going to like an ideology which is trashing masculinity? It's shaming masculinity as this evil force put there by the patriarchy to oppress women. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
just
Yeah, it is.
bullshit. Yeah. But
No, go
the
ahead.
whole idea of the whole idea of oppression is bullshit. The whole idea of it's another thing that really uh, it upsets me, because it's a lie. It's just a lie. I don't see it that way. Right? I just don't see it that way, because you know when I was a kid, I have sisters, I have a mother, and my father is a hell of a mangina. He's a super white knight, right? And the way he treated my sisters and my mother, what I could see, treating them like infallible, beautiful creatures, just incapable of doing any mistakes. And I have memories. Today I'm 43. I have memories even from the 70s, okay, the late 70s and the early 1980s. What I remember is that men didn't used to treat women like shit. No, they used to put women on the pedestal all the time. That's how it's that oppression. If you oppress a group
Yeah.
of people,
So
you don't put them on the pedestal. You just trash them.
exactly, and I think that's a really good question. So since you grew up watching this, how do you think they were able to, convince the world, or at least the legislators, that they were oppressed when, like you said, you're living and seeing it every day that women are being treated well? In fact, before you answer, I can say I know a good fella a while back ago made a video about the rules of a gentleman and how you treat a woman. And you treat a woman pretty well according to those rules. I mean, and then we could talk about chivalry, which we know is originally a code for knights, but people use chivalry more for standard of ethics and how you treat people, well, women in particular. But even with chivalry, we'll just, in its contemporary form, we can see that there's lots of etiquette in how you treat women well. So how do you think, growing up and watching this, that feminists were able to convince the world that they were oppressed?
Well, I don't think it was a very difficult, very complicated thing to achieve, because I think they're just exploiting something. And I'm going to steal something that, I watched a video uploaded by Janet Flamengo, and she put it in a very well way. She presented it as they they didn't come up with anything new. They just used something that was already there. And I totally agree with that, because that's exactly what I've been thinking for years now. All right, so she didn't tell me anything new, but what she said is spot on. They're just exploiting something that is already there, which is incompatible with the idea of a patriarchal structure, which is there to oppress women. What is there is, in fact, a very gynocentric sort of patriarchal structure, where yes, men are in charge, but they are in charge to favor, to save, to help, and to protect females. That's not oppression. All right. So the moment you understand how the society is structured, and it's structured to save, help, prioritize, and protect, and pedestalize, right? Then you start to understand they're only exploiting something which has been there not for decades and not for centuries, but it has been there for thousands of years, and which is most probable possible. It's possible that this is just part of human nature. This is part of our biology. This is part of anthropology. The fact that men just have this absolute need to help, save, and protect women at all costs. And that's what they're doing. They're just basically they are exploiting something that is already there. So how did they achieve that? They didn't really have to work hard, because they only had to exploit men's normal and natural predisposition, the way men are biologically programmed to function. And most men out there are just biologically programmed, and socioculturally wired to give women all attention, all approval, all everything, just everything, all their resources, all their time, all their money, and everything. So it's a sort of a duality, sort of a binary system, where one is expected to give more and more and more, and the other one keeps pretending more and more and more. So I think that in the end, it's just, if you complain, then men are just going to give more. And what I see here is that it's getting so crazy that they're asking for more and more for even the most ridiculous things. And the amazing
Yeah.
thing is that men are still giving. That's
Yeah.
the amazing thing. So that's what it I think that the real change should come from there, because I don't expect to see feminist women changing at any time. Never. They're not going to change because that's the way they function. They want more and more and more. I think that the only thing that can change this is that actually men should stop giving and say, you crossed the line. All right. It's just that this is going completely insane. This is getting ridiculous to the point that it's becoming counterproductive for everybody. Now, you're a black guy, right? And I think that
Yeah.
I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think that you would probably agree on the fact that it had some very devastating consequences on the black community. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if that is true, but I don't live in
Well,
America.
well,
But
I wouldn't say devastating, but definitely has it affected my life in some negative ways. I would say, yeah.
but a lot of African Americans that I watch online on YouTube, they're claiming, so you correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't live in the state, but they're saying that this has had catastrophic consequences on the family unit to the point that basically men were kicked out of their homes. All right,
Yes,
so
you
a
are
lot
correct
of
there.
a lot of young African American boys and young men basically grew up without a father figure, and they passively absorbed all the sort of hysterical attitude from their women. Now, when I talk with other MGTOW, and a lot of them actually would agree on the fact that, in fact, the real traits of hypermasculinity are basically traits of hyperfemininity. So it did have some negative consequences on the black community. It is, and I promise you, it is having negative effects on at least the community of gay men, at least the ones who are manly and masculine and don't want to have anything to do with, with putting on makeup or doing their nails or that shit, because there are many gay men who don't do that. They don't want to have anything to do with that.
Hmm.
It's effective far more, their idea of the white straight male. That's not entirely true, because there are black men who can be negatively affected by that. There can be gay men who can be negatively affected by that. So it has consequences on the whole society. All right, and it, it it's just it's getting crazy. It's just getting so weird, to the point that now a lot of other people who aren't white straight men, they're waking up. There are black men who are waking up, there are gay men who are waking up, there are women who are waking up. A lot of people are saying this, it has got to a point of just ideological insanity.
Yeah. Just recently, I heard a story that some feminists were actually upset at the fact that a new extension I think Mozilla made for some program, I don't even know the program, was .bro, and how that was misogynistic. They actually remember like a couple of news stories about how .bro is somehow oppressive towards women.
Yeah,
It's definitely getting to a
of
point
course.
where, I mean, it's
That
just, you're right, it's
everything is
just
oppression.
pure, exactly, it's
Everything
just
is
pure
oppression.
insanity.
You know,
You
the
know?
the not the goal, but the tactic. The real tactic is you have to complain all the time, because, like I said before, this is about getting things via complaining. You complain, you complain, you complain. The more you complain, the more you get. So once you learn that this is an effective, very efficient tactic, what are they going to do? They're going to complain more and more and more. And this is the reason why every day they come up with some new shit that makes no sense. But that's not the point. And there are some MGTOW and MRAs and anti-feminists who don't. They think, that's not true, that's unfair. Why are they talking about manspreading or mansplaining or rape culture? And I keep saying, guys, that's not the point. It doesn't have to make any sense to you or me or others. It doesn't have to be about logic or reason. The tactic there, it's about complain. The goal is complaining. It doesn't matter if it makes no sense, because the only goal there is complaining all the time. You complain all the time and you get some more shit. The more you complain, the more you get.
No, yeah, that's spot on.
That's what
Definitely spot on.
that's what I have. That's exactly what I've seen. I traveled a lot. I spent 1 year in Australia, 3 years in England, 30 years in Italy, now 8 years in Switzerland. Actually, I've been to so many places. You know, what can I tell you? It's just they complain and then they get, and then they complain more and then they get more, to a certain point where you stop complaining about women. You stop thinking, well, women are just, these feminist women are full of shit. I stop doing that, and I start to ask, I start to raise different questions, and I start to ask myself, why do men keep giving to the ones who keep trashing men and blaming men and shaming men? To me, that's completely incomprehensible. That's something that I I find, in a way, I find it disturbing. But when I talk to other MGTOW friends, yeah, the attitude, what they say to me is that, well, what can we do? It's just that that's our biology. What do
Yeah,
you
so
expect me
you
to?
say they're biological determinists.
Well, probably at least some of them, yes. I would say to a certain degree, some of them, yes, because it's like they can do the math. They know everything. They have watched all the best videos uploaded by Man Woman Myth or Barbarossa or Stardust or all the other guys. But even if they have all the information and they did their homework and they do the math, they're still at the point of, yes, but this is my biology, this is my nature, all right,
Yeah, but I mean,
that.
I,
Yeah.
one thing I have to say to that is that really doesn't make a great deal of sense because they're calling themselves MGTOW. That means that they apparently have opted out of the system. That apparently they've beaten their own biology. That's kind of the point, right?
You can't beat your biology, because the only force in the universe that can actually change biology is evolution. You can't change evolution just like that.
Well,
Evolution
even
can't
then,
be changed by ideologies. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
So I mean, so they've just well, then that means they just reserved to lose.
I don't know, because we're kind of stuck, because I'm trying to understand. I'm in many hangouts with many MGTOW, and I'm trying to understand. And I do think that there is some sort of what some MGTOW have before called some sort of being stuck in a sort of a dead end, knowing everything, but not knowing what's going to be next. You know what's happening to you, but you don't really know how to react. So the only way to react is non-action. It's like saying the society is shit. I'm just going to slowly withdraw from the, step out of the society, which in a way is impossible. If you want to live in the society, you can't really get out of it,
Yeah.
if you're in the society. So it's like, some MGTOW have called it stagnation. It's like, what's next? And everybody's asking that, but nobody here has a real answer to that question.
No, of course. I mean, it's a good question, but
Yeah,
it's the
it's a
only
good
way to
question,
know
but the
what's next.
answer, it's a
Yeah,
one
the only way
million
to know
dollar
what's
question. Yeah,
yeah. We don't know what's coming up
yeah,
because
exactly.
everything each and every day it does look like it's getting worse and worse. And I
Mm.
try to be optimistic about things and try to help people as best I can, but
Oh yeah, I
with
totally agree with that. Yeah.
with the level of BS that continues to come out each and every day, it does not look good. Trying to wake up people as fast as I can, it does not look like we're winning this culture war anytime soon because, like I said just a second ago, and people took the whole .bro thing seriously.
Mm.
They can complain about the most ridiculous shit, and people still consider it. So then, yeah,
A
it is
real
a good
thing.
question. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a good question. Not only what's coming next, but what do we do about it? You know?
Well, a lot of them are talking about masculinity, what it really means. What does
Yeah,
masculinity actually
I,
mean? But if you think about it, if masculinity means honor and dignity and self-esteem, you certainly do not have any dignity and honor and self-esteem if you keep, you know, passively accepting this without
Yeah.
being proactive and proactively make it stop so it won't harm you and other men and the rest of the society. So it shouldn't be entirely about just withdrawing, just stepping out of the system just because the system is completely corrupted and dysfunctional and completely crazy. You know, I think the only possible way is that this system has to, in a way or another, it has to change, or it has to at least be modified in some way that it doesn't get too counterproductive and too harmful.
Yeah, I understand that. I remember I wasn't on the stream obviously, but I did listen to Magnus and you guys talk about it. By the
Yeah.
way, if you're listening and you're a man, I think it might be a good idea to swing over to Magnus Deacon's channel.
Oh
Go
yeah,
ahead
he's
and
a
click
great
that
guy.
subscribe button. He's very, very wise, very intelligent man, and I definitely
He
enjoy
is.
it when he uploads stuff.
He is a very smart guy. He's also a very good man because we have been in many hangouts, even just the two of us or with other guys, and he looks like a very decent, good man. Like someone who wants to, at least who's trying to help. He keeps saying, "I want to help
Yeah.
other men. I want to help my fellow men," which is, in my opinion, a very honorable thing. All right, that's a good thing. It is. So not all agree, because MGTOW is a very diverse. It's a very diverse community. You got different men with different views, different opinion, different attitude, different
Yeah.
character, and so on.
That's kind of the whole point of it being called MGTOW. At least originally, that was the entire point.
Yeah, it's true, but it's also, I have to admit, it's also very vague because in the end,
Yeah.
MGTOW could mean anything. Men going their own way, it could mean anything, and in the end, it means virtually nothing. What the hell does
Yeah,
that mean?
exactly. Yeah, true.
I sometimes I say even a blue pill white knight vagina could be a MGTOW because even a feminist man could be a MGTOW because that's his way of going his own way. His way could be about being a feminist man. So it's so vague that it in the end it ends up meaning nothing. All right. So
No,
it's a
no,
good
you're
thing that there
absolutely
is.
correct about that.
Yeah, yeah. So, but still, I do have some MGTOW friends. They are good people. So I keep in touch, and I keep being in the community because that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. There's a lot of good people in MGTOW. I think.
There are
Oh, in my opinion.
there are men who are very smart. They're very nice. They're very good. They're open-minded and they want to think in a rational way about this. There are some MGTOW who are completely batshit crazy. They don't make any fucking
Oh
sense,
yeah,
and they're stuck
yeah,
in their ridiculous conspiracy theories, which is not helpful at all. But that's the beauty of having a very diverse community. When you have a very diverse community, you get men of all types. So that's the thing.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So getting back to Switzerland.
Hmm.
You have any other experiences you want to share?
Well, not experiences, but I would say the way the system functions, because basically,
Okay.
they do complain about the fact that women don't get enough attention. They get a lot of attention. Or I told you before that they're getting now all these sort of white collar positions, and yet there is a law here in Switzerland where all men have to do military training. It's mandatory. It's not you can't decide it. You can't say no, I don't
Wait.
want to do it.
So is it military training or military service? Just so I'm
There
clear.
is some military service and then there is military training. I don't know if it's every year or every 2 years, but basically, if you are a Swiss citizen, you have to do it. There is no way that you can say, no, I don't want to. But it's only men,
Okay.
and it's only men. The state doesn't never ask women to do that, to serve in the army. And
So is
it's
it a?
compulsory.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
Is there a draft as well, or is it only military service, or is it both?
Well, it's both because
Okay.
it's very strange because Switzerland has always been a very neutral country, but at the same time, because of its neutrality, I don't know how to explain it. It's still the need to serve a very neutral country. It's very complicated to say, but what I find weird is that they conveniently ignore that. That men have to do it, and they don't have the right to say no. I don't want to be part of that. No, they have. You have to. If you're a man, you're Swiss, you're living here, you have to do it. but they keep complaining about the fact that women before they couldn't vote or that they are not allowed in certain positions. And I think, hang on a minute, why are you being so selective? Why do you just select what we can complain about, but you don't want to complain about other things? You know, everything that is good for men, then they complain. Everything that is good for women, they just conveniently ignore it. How hypocritical is that? But
Yeah,
again,
certainly.
I'm
That is
not
the lifeblood of
surprised.
feminism.
I'm not surprised at feminists because I know that that's the shit that they do. I'm surprised that men just passively accept that, and most men just
Yeah,
don't. A lot of men just say, "Ah, yeah, no, what can we do? They're women. That's the way it
yeah.
is."
You know what I think it is, and this is just my theory. I'm certainly going to need a lot more evidence and whatnot. But what I think it is, me personally, think even turfling monkeys probably alluded to this once or twice, but it's kind of like a
Oh,
mating strategy for some of these guys, in that they
yep.
kowtow to women to get their approval. And I think part of it,
Oh, yeah.
I got this from Honey Badger Radio. I forgot which one of the ladies said this, but it's that a lot of these guys, well, this is just fact, but a lot of men are grew up with single mothers or grew up with a lot of women bestowing and taking away approval. They didn't really have a lot of men in their lives really teach them how to be men, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so they've never learned how to get that sense of identity that you can only get from doing something that only like a master can pass to a student, you know, like a
Yep.
father can pass to his son, that identity, because that's not really something that a lot of women bestow onto their children. You know, women are certainly nurturers and they help with their emotions, you know, whatnot, but not really give children that core of who they are. That's really what fathers do.
Mm-hmm.
And since a lot of men grow up without fathers, they only grow up with their moms and they only grow up surrounded by women. You know, they have to seek for their approval because they don't know how else, you know, the society works because they've never had men to raise them. And since they, and since if you really think about a lot of things that I've made some videos about this, is that if you listen to how women what women say they want in men are the kind, the kind, honest, nice guy, all that
Oh, yeah.
jazz, all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you raise a bunch of this, and a lot of people mistake kindness for passivity, and that's another element into it all too. So when you mix all the elements of, you know, being surrounded by women and with this level of passivity, you know, you don't teach men the active kindness of wanting to do something. Instead, you teach them this level of passivity of letting people roll over you. Then you get a bunch of these beta males who only do nothing but kowtow to women because that's all they grew up with. They had their moms telling them what to do. They only folded to women. They only had women's approval. And so to them, it's just a natural order of things because that's just how they were raised. And that's my theory about it. I mean, it'll need some polishing, but that's what I'm thinking is probably happening, you know,
That's
with the
that's a
state of men.
That is a good theory, and I would, in part, I would agree with that. But that's not the only explanation because you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
mentioning someone from the Honey Badger Radio. Maybe Alison Timan or Karen Straw. I don't know who was that,
It
but
was, yeah, there's one of them. Go ahead.
yeah, and it's a good thing that you also mentioned TFM. Third Thinking Monkey, because we were once in a hangout, me, him, and I am serious, and he said something that was very interesting. Something that it's how can I say it's a smart thing to say because he said, look, a good society should be built upon merit, right? It should be a meritocratic system where the more you give, the more you get. And I would certainly agree with that. But since you were mentioning the fact that a lot of these men they grow up in single mothers households and they absorb a lot of that and then they're stuck in that shit. And I would certainly agree with that. But I also have my own theory that not all men are of the same merit. Not all men have the same qualities. And since you were mentioning it as a strategy, male feminism as a mating strategy, I would say, oh yes, but it's not necessarily related to being the child, the son of a single parent
Yeah.
household or a single
Okay.
mother. Because it could also be a man. There are a lot of feminist men who have both a father and a mother. And
Yeah.
in that case, how do you explain that? And my explanation to that is that there are a lot of men who are not very, say, successful. They don't really have many talent or a real talent or knowledge or skills or qualifications. So the only way for them to succeed, since they don't have the right cards in their hands, the only way to succeed is that it's a bit like telling women, okay, I don't have that talent or skill or merit or knowledge or qualifications, but their strategy is to sabotage other men. All right. So it's like,
Oh,
yeah, it's like I'm going to succeed not because of my qualities, but by trashing other men. It's like going to women and whispering in their ears, I'm the good guy, look at them, they're the bad guys. They're going to rape you, they're going to do something horrible to you, they're going to harm you. And it's a strategy upon success via sabotage. It's just sabotaging other men. And I have seen that
yeah,
on many
you could
occasions.
go ahead.
No, keep going.
What I was gonna say is I can you can extend that even partly to feminism. Yeah, I've thought about that a little bit too. That maybe a lot of the fat acceptance and even the slut walks is all about bringing women down to the same level. So when every woman is a slut, no one is a slut. So every woman who feels inadequate has I mean, men have no choice but to either pick them or don't pick anybody. And that's where a lot of not only the push for body acceptance and the push for stopping all the slut shaming comes from. It comes from women's insecurities. Instead of them
Yes.
accepting the standards men have, they want to change it so they don't have to do anything and be perfectly fine the way they are.
Oh yeah, and if you look at this slut walk, you're never going to see an extremely beautiful, good-looking, gorgeous woman with a perfect body. You're usually going to see women who don't really fit that description. And yes, I would say, yeah, it does also apply to feminists, but like I usually say to other MGTOW, it's like
Yeah.
we shouldn't just focus on women and feminists because this is also a question. It's also about men, and we should also start to look at men and even
Yeah, I would
dare to
yeah.
criticize if there is a flaw, we have to talk about it, because I don't want MGTOW to turn into the specular image of feminism where they're
Hmm.
giving this idea that women are flawless, they're fantastic, and men are shit. And now my fear is that MGTOW is going to slowly turn into that women are all sluts and cunts and bitches and horrible, and men are just the good ones and the victims. So I don't want that, because I don't want to turn this into a new sort of victim status of
Yeah.
complaining and a bunch of whiners who keep complaining. No, it's just that you know there are a lot of men out there with inferiority complex because
Hmm.
they think that they feel that they're inadequate, that they can't really get a woman. They don't have the right looks, or they don't have the right job, they don't have the right career or the right car or the right money, and that's the strategy. So I've watched many documentaries about that, and if you look at biology, there is something very similar, and it does happen in nature. That some males, I've watched documentaries on amphibians, on squids, on fish, on birds, on reptiles, and sometimes there is successful competition via sabotage. This is a biological phenomenon. It does exist in nature. I have seen that in snakes, in squids, where perhaps a male that is not very sort of, say, quote, masculine, then of course we have to talk about that. What they do, they sabotage other men. There are male snakes, for example, that they release a sort of a pheromone to distract other males, right? And so that they can sneak to the female. And there are
Hmm.
some squids that actually they pretend that they're the female to attract other males, or that they release some sort of hormones that, and just to distract them so that they can get to the female. It's successful mating via sabotage, by basically fooling or other males, and it's by cheating. And I'm not going to say that it's identical, of course, because it's different, and perhaps it's very different. But what I've noticed is that there are a lot of men out there that they are insecure, that they don't have the right talent or the right career or the right amount of money. And what I've seen, and I've seen that for my entire life, that what they're doing is the only thing that they have is to, ruin the reputation of other men. It's like going to women and say, those men they're rapists. They're part of the rape culture, and I see that attitude especially in feminist men, that they that's their mantra, what they're repeating over and over and over. It's like, ladies, I'm not like on them. They are going to rape you, but I'm the good guy. And if you see it from
Yeah.
that perspective, it's like it's what you said before. It's like a mating strategy via sabotage, by ruining the reputation, the good men, good name of other men, which is, I would say it's even it's in a way it's even worse, because you're basically backstabbing your fellow men. You're pushing other men under the bus to increase your chances of making an impression on women.
Yeah, and
How
it's hardly even
how
a guarantee.
cowardly is that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes, and yes, and it's not even guaranteed. Yes, I certainly agree on that. Yeah, but it does happen, and that's why
And it could even
usually.
backfire too. Yeah, I mean it's a incredibly shitty mating strategy altogether. You know, if you're spreading all this fear and propaganda that all men are rapists, but not you, I mean, what makes you all that different from anybody else, honestly, and to a woman's eyes, especially because a lot of young ladies do lack an ability to compartmentalize correctly, which isn't their fault. I'm not. It's not entirely a bad thing, but a lot of women, let me see if I can explain this. They don't really do
Mhm.
a great job of separating things from each other. You know, so if you say all guys are cheaters, well, a lot of women, they really are projecting that onto all the guys that they met, and they
Oh yeah,
extend that to everyone that has a penis, you know, because they're not really compartmentalizing the different qualities that men have. They just see men, and it's like a gigantic interconnecting web of things that all connect with each other when you look at the mind of a woman. You know, women think a lot differently than men do. And
yeah.
it's both fascinating and terrifying at the same time. So
It is fascinating. Yes, yes, I certainly agree with that, because there is the collective, the sort of mob thinking.
yeah,
There is the sort of group thinking, and yeah, I certainly agree. Well, we do have many things in common. We do share a lot of ideas, and there are, I would say, some common grounds where we could actually uh, yeah. So, it like I said before, it's not that disturbing when women do that, because I just get to the point where I think that that's just it's their nature. It's
yeah,
the
it's
way
not
they
unto
function.
itself a bad thing. Exactly.
W-
Like
Yeah.
women unto themselves aren't bad. It's the effects that I think a lot of people should really take umbrage with,
Well, the
because even
moment
if we go ahead.
Yeah. No, the moment you realize that this is a biological thing and they're just biologically programmed to extract from men more resources, you don't call them evil, because you believe that a natural phenomenon in nature and biology is not there to be evil. It's just the way it is,
Yeah.
just the way humanity has evolved to function.
And yeah, and even when you look at that nature part of women themselves, it's not really, they're not looking for nests just for themselves. They are doing it for their children. You know,
Yeah.
that's and a lot of women have lost that in our society, which only just leaves them into looking like they're just selfish, money grubbing jackasses. This is true. But the whole point of that, you know, evolutionarily speaking, was for their children. So
Yes.
that unto itself, extracting resources, you know, the male and the female here in our species, and a lot of other species too, definitely do a lot of things for their offspring and definitely have very high investment in their children. But when you remove that, you know, for example, the protection and the aggression that men have is there to protect women and their babies, right? When you
Mm.
remove that part of reproduction and just, you know, they're just all aggressive, then you're just left with a jackass, you know. So those traits have to complement each other and balance each other out. That's, you know, why we evolved, you know, to mix and mingle with each other the way we do, men and women, I mean.
And
So
what it's left to look completely disturbing is the attitude that men are giving, the sort of passive, no, the passive attitude of just
yeah,
passively accepting this without being proactively ready to stop this and to effectively change this. And that's why I keep saying, what women are doing might seem to be disturbing, but it's part of their biology. And it's like their biology it has gone over the limits, right? But it's men the ones who should, put a limit and should stop this. So
yeah, I
uh,
think that's pretty much how it's been for a while. Men have, I mean, throughout
have lost.
societies, you know, even if you have like religion, institutions, I mean, anything when it comes to men have always placed boundaries and even women did this too. Like with a lot of tradition, especially with the slut shaming, the whole point of that was women are the ones who primarily verbally slut shame each other, but it's men
Mm,
who you probably deselect them out. In other words, what I mean is it's women who make fun of sluts, but it's men who primarily don't want to settle down with them. And the whole point of that, of course, was to avoid venereal diseases and to avoid cuckolding and to
mm,
avoid single parenthood. So
yeah.
there's a lot of boundaries that were placed on society that either naturally occurred or someone had enough sense to say, we can't run around like this. Even though we have freedom, we do need our boundaries. And that was a lot of the job of men. That's why we have our government and we have this social structures that we have. It is because men have built these things both physically and metaphysically, or figuratively, I mean.
Yeah, and well, the only thing I can add is that, well, like before, I said before, no, it's not that I want to repeat myself. It's just that I not only find disturbing the fact that men are passively accepting this without doing anything, but I don't even see any sort of unity, because what I find disturbing
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
masculinity and men's
even
attitude
go ahead.
is that they're constantly divided in this sort of in group in this fighting all the time, that you're the wrong kind of man, you don't represent my own personal version of masculinity, you belong to this group and that group. And I've seen it even here in MGTOW. When you start to see that even in MGTOW,
Like
men
Stardust MGTOW
shitting one.
versus the Sandman MGTOW.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it goes
Yeah, I'm just
beyond
making
that.
fun.
It
Yeah,
goes
I'm just making
beyond
fun.
because yeah, no, no, I understood that. But it's the whole thing of you do not qualify as the rights of my own personal idea of a man. And this is another thing that is good about Magnus, because Magnus said, I don't care, men can be different types of men, men should be free to be what they want. That's not the point. But what is just absurd is like men fighting uh, one against each, one against the other all the time, all the time, and that also has to stop. So I think that
Yeah.
instead of focusing all the time on women or feminism, that's not going to change. That is actually fueled by not only the complete lack of, uh, you know, how can I put it?
Yeah,
Self
not only just
confidence in men.
yeah. The machine is really big right now, and feminism's got a lot of help. Even with the liberal progressives, it's got a lot of help, and that's why
Oh
personally
yeah.
I think his podcast, well not podcast, but hangout on masculinity was very important because I do think masculinity and facing challenges and growing a backbone and self confidence is one step towards fighting against this because feminism and these feminist men it does prey on their insecurities, honestly. It does prey on the
Yeah.
fact that they don't feel adequate or they do feel like a lot of men don't feel like they measure up to being men. And that's truth right there. And that's how they fall into this, I'm going to put it honestly, destructive ideology of destroying masculinity. It's
Mm.
because they didn't feel like they measured up to jocks or they measured up to their dads or whatever. And
Oh
so
yeah.
a
Yeah.
huge
Yeah, I agree.
portion, I think, is men do need to gain some level of self-esteem and self-respect back and to understand that men before them did great things. And I think a huge portion of our society has definitely and saying men are bad and evil and rapists and all of that and have forgotten, a lot of men have forgotten or never knew that we build things. We've built
Mm.
websites, we built buildings, we've gone to war. We men have done so many different things for society and the people around them. So as much as all the evil that men have done, I mean, there's good things too. I mean, there's Jesus Christ, there's Martin Luther King, there's so many good men who have done great things for other people. And it's lost on a lot of guys. And I do think that that needs to be reclaimed so we understand, that we can be fathers, we can be technicians, we can be soldiers, we can be what we want to be. We can have this level of self-confidence that exists within us. So that's why I honestly, if you're watching the live stream, you should go check out Magnus's thing. I think it's very important. You
Yeah.
have the floor.
Yeah, no, no, I certainly agree, and I would also advise viewers to check out his website, because he's a great guy. But when you were talking about men building things, men who are actually building our civilization, they're doing so many things. Another thing that I find very disturbing is that This, and I again, I point on masculinity and men, on their attitude and their behavior. I don't want to talk about women all the time, because that's one of the mistakes
Yeah.
that MGTOW keep doing. And if I focus on men, because we want to focus on masculinity, and I see that they would rather celebrate the quasi inexistent and ridiculous non-accomplishment of women, rather than point and focus on the incredible, formidable accomplishment that men gave us, all the wonderful
Yeah.
things. And too many men out there look at other men and what they have achieved almost with suspicion, or like, that's like, who cares. And we're stuck in this thing that we have to celebrate women's achievements, which sometimes are even very small in comparison. So men do formidable things, and we just go, yeah, who cares? And women do a fraction of that. And all in a sudden, that fraction is turned into something wonderful that we all have to give a round of applause, a standing ovation. And that's also another thing. What do men think of other men? What do they think of other men? What is their attitude? What is their you know how do men see each other and one another? With suspicion, in disgust, looking at other men as just the competition that I want to get rid of, to push under the bus, so that it's going to increase my chances. And when you were saying, men have done great things, that's not enough. It's not enough doing great things if nobody is there to admit it and celebrate that. And that has
Yeah.
had other repercussions in our society, because most people out there, and it's not just women, it's also a lot of men who have stopped celebrating men and masculinity. It's like they're over with it. It's like boring. We don't want to do that anymore. And it's like you can't. It's not the time now to celebrate men what they're doing, because now it's the time to celebrate women. And I find that that's truly disturbing, because then if we want to talk about misandry, then most of misandry isn't really coming from women, because most of misandry sometimes is just coming from men. It's just like men hating one another. And it's I don't know if it's just fear, because for some time I was talking about the concept of androphobia, which is a psychological condition. Androphobia is the fear of men, and the
Mm-hmm.
fear of masculinity, seeing men and masculinity as a threat, as something dangerous. Men as a potential danger, and when their sex, their sexuality, their potentials are all turned into a threat. And that's the way a lot of people see it. And it's not just women. It's not just women who do that. The, I would say, I don't know if you would agree on that, but I would say that a lot of people who do that are actually men who see other men, you know, they're looking at other men in disgust.
No, no,
And
definitely. I do agree with that. It is very prevalent, at least from what I've seen. A lot of guys are not a big fan, and I've seen they'll come to defend women and they'll pretty much castrate themselves, figuratively speaking, you
yeah,
know, at the feet of young ladies and at the feet of feminism. And it is disheartening. It is a sad thing that they don't, respect themselves enough to say, "Hey, this is stupid," or "This is detrimental to us all." But I've
mm.
definitely seen a lot of what you're talking about. Just not even on the internet, just going through daily life. Well, not daily life, but more like in school. Daily life, you're going around doing stuff. So,
And as a black man in America, how would you see this, in the black community? What is your perspective on that?
um, my perspective on it has definitely been there's definitely a lot of disdain from, or there's a huge push more for the image. And I think a lot. I think that kind of goes everywhere, but the particular type of image for a lot of black guys I've noticed is definitely influenced by the media and rap and hip hop and whatnot. And so that's not the entire cause, but I'm not saying media, is the entirety of the problem. but it is an element there, because that's the only place where a lot of black men can see different guys to emulate. And there's a lot of feminization that I'm beginning to notice happening to men. But I think it started here with black people, because I
Yeah,
noticed, like a lot of black guys started wearing a bunch of skinny jeans and whatnot. Now, skinny jeans is a type of dress for women. It was made so they can
yeah.
show off their curves and wear all the tight things. Now, guys are starting to do this.
Mm.
I've noticed some rappers have started wearing dresses and whatnot, and you can
Yeah,
notice that there's a push to make men more effeminate, even with rap music, which is supposed to be really gruff and tumble kind of stuff going on there.
yeah,
And and again, and I've noticed with some guys, they've definitely have adopted a lot of effeminate traits when they grew up and spent a lot of time. Well, I know I used to be like this. I was this weird hybrid creature back in the day, where I spent time with a lot of men, and well, not with more like a lot of boys. I didn't spend a lot of time with my dad when I was younger until I
yeah.
got became a teenager.
Mm.
So spending a lot of time with women, like my mom and my sisters, I've definitely adopted some of their feminine traits when I was younger and learned to identify with women a lot more. I've noticed that with some guys, like I said, definitely a huge push for their image. Some guys lean more towards the gangster rap thing. Other guys more
Mm.
towards this really effeminate kind of beta kind of looking guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a word for it yet, but I have the picture in my mind. The
Well,
guys with the skinny jeans and all of that.
well, it's
um,
sometimes it's called metrosexual or something like that. It's sort of
yeah, I think
a man who is obsessed with fashion or looking kind of effeminate. So
yeah, there's definitely I've noticed a huge push for that, and it's if I do say so, a little creepy.
hmm.
It,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
looks like it looks almost like it's purposeful, but that's conspiracy theory territory there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
there's
No, but
definitely
it's not entirely conspiracy theory because what I've noticed is that the only type of gay man that they accept, it's not just in feminist organizations, but the only type of gay man that is accepted by the media is usually the effeminate ones. If you look at talk shows or TV series, TV programs, etc., usually gay men are always
yeah. You,
portrayed
you mean
as,
like the more
as,
flamboyant kind of guys?
yeah, you don't really see many masculine types. It's like they're completely missing. And so I get your point because I think that that's the type of masculinity that they prefer because they don't see it as a threat. Maybe
Yeah,
in their mind, masculinity is a threat, is something dangerous. So they try to erase masculinity even in men. Doesn't matter if it's black men or Latino men or Asian men or gay men, as long as it's that idea of threat of something scary that might hurt you is going to be completely erased so that women can feel safe.
yeah.
And that's bullshit. And that's just bullshit.
No,
It
you're right,
is.
man. It's masculinity that protects women. It does. It's not what hurts them.
Yeah. But then it gets even worse because at that point you start to think, so is this all they can see in masculinity? It's like, is that all that masculinity can be? It's just a threat or something scary that has to be eliminated so that women can feel safe. That's you know that attitude, that way of thinking is just absolutely disgusting. All right,
No, I agree.
because
I completely agree.
that's not what masculinity really means. It doesn't. There were great men in the past who were, great designers, great inventors, great, I don't know, uh, they didn't just function or exist just to threat men, to threat women or scare them or to be violent. So that's just absurd.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. But
Yeah,
yeah, there's definitely a huge confusion with masculinity these days. A lot of men don't know how to be men, and I think that is one step forward to the solution. We have to start instilling and teaching men to be proud to be men. To become a man, you got to go and do something. You got to struggle, and you got to get better and you got to get stronger. And it is something that's lost on a lot of people. I recently made a video called "You Have to Face Challenges" because that's the only way you're going to get stronger. You can't get stronger unless someone puts some pressure on you.
Yeah, and that's why, in the hangout we had, the live hangout we had with Magnus, and then at a certain point, I asked him, what is your idea of masculinity? And we started to talk about that, but I could see that there was some, I don't want to say confusion, but it's like not being really capable of explaining it or saying what it actually means, because in the end, like masculinity, like Magnus said, then in the end, masculinity has different meaning according to different types of men. So uh, if it has various meanings and different meanings, then why should it be reduced to just the one meaning, which is the threat or something scary or dangerous that might hurt women, and which is part of the narrative. A lot of feminist men, keep boosting that to increase their chances. Well, but that's going over again on that part. So yeah, and perhaps it would be a good thing to focus on that and to perhaps talk online, the manosphere, anti-feminists and MRAs and MGTOW to try to
Yeah,
talk about this instead of just
I'll
focusing.
tell you one thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, instead of focusing on all the time on women and feminism, because then it's just the repetition of the repetition. Then we get stuck in these sort of echo chambers that keep repeating.
Yeah,
It would be a good thing to start to focus. Sometimes, we're in Hangouts and we start to talk about these things, and then you just have to wait 2 minutes before we go to talk to women, to talk about women. And it's just,
yeah, and yeah.
yeah.
To cut in for a second, I think one thing I've kind of grown to understand is what I'll say. The first thing I'll say is definitely, I think for me, I make a lot of videos on feminism to try to
Mhm.
explain to people why this is a problem.
Yeah.
Because through my travels on the internet, I've encountered lots more people who really think feminism is for equality. They don't really understand what's
Sure
going
it
on,
is. Yeah,
and
yeah.
so that's why I make a lot of videos, is to help other people in an entertaining way to show them, hey, this is what they're saying. This is why it's BS. Let's look at reality. Let's look at these statistics, and we can see it doesn't line up. And that's the point of me. That's why I talk about feminism so much. Is there has to be a foundation before, or at least the way I see it. We need a foundation to understand why it's a problem, and then we can move towards the solution. So
Hmm.
as to why I link a lot of MGTOWs, like you say in your hangouts, are still talking about women. To
Yeah.
put it bluntly, it's because they still want women. That's why. I mean, why do
Yeah.
I talk about women so much? Because I want a wife. I want
Yeah.
a woman to love me, and
Hmm.
and they can get as mad as they want when they get to this part of the hangout. But they want to be with women. They want to be with good women, and they're
Yeah.
trying to vent their frustrations of not finding those good women. And I don't think that unto itself is a bad thing. Not just because I do it sometimes, but because you have to get it out somewhere. You have to identify the problem, and you have to know what to avoid and what not to pick when you're trying to find a good wife to be with. And I think a huge part of these guys, and then they're just venting their frustrations because they did what everyone told them to do, and then they
Hmm.
find out it didn't work. And that's why there's still, I think there it's a huge portion of them still trying to either come to terms with what's going on by talking about it, or they're trying to find some kind of solution to what's happening here. And and I think I agree with you. I think while that is an important thing to discuss, masculinity is also another element that needs to be talked about. And
Yeah.
I understand exactly why you were probably a little annoyed there, because
Hmm.
they went to talking about women when you wanted to talk about what is masculinity and how do we attain it once again. So
Yeah.
I understand both sides, but I do agree with you more that that hangout probably should have been more about masculinity.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what can I say? I certainly agree on that, but because I certainly agree with what you said before. That I can certainly see the frustration, because in the end I understand that. I understand the need to be with someone. I understand the need to be with someone that you can love, and someone who's going to love you, and not just for what you can do, because a lot of the frustration that I keep hearing, it's repeated over and over. It stems from the fear that they're not going to be loved because of what they are and what they represent, but they're just going to be loved for what they can give, for the resources that they can give. And that's one of the greatest fears that a lot of these men are basically showing, and that's probably stopping them. It's a fear, perhaps in part, based upon some truth, because in the end they hear stories, they watch the news, they know the laws, they know all the crazy shit that's happening. So many men ended up committing suicide. A lot of men lost their home, their stuff. Marriage got completely fucked up, and the woman got everything, even the kids. So I understand that there is a fear that it might affect them negatively. And so yes, it's just translated. It can be seen in all the frustration and all the uh, it's like they certainly want to be with a woman, but they're scared that
Yeah,
it's going to fire back. It's going to be extremely counterproductive. So
exactly.
then then we're left with the question, what's next? Because we
Yeah,
certainly know that we have to talk about feminist bullshit. Yes, that's true, and I agree. And then we also have to touch the idea of masculinity. That's true.
yeah,
But apart from that, the question remains, what's next? Because that's one of the main things within MGTOW. What I was talking about before, stagnation, and I think Barbara also talked about that before. And it's like being stuck in a dead end, and you don't know how to get out of it. You don't know
yeah.
what to do
Oh,
to.
and yeah, that reminds me of the third thing I wanted to say. The original point of MGTOW, the old manifesto from a while ago, definitely
Oh,
did have a huge focus on masculinity. So I think it's time, you guys bring it back there. It's time we go back to the roots and we try to figure out what it means to be a man.
oh yeah, well, some MGTOW are trying. I'm trying, and others are
No, no,
trying
yeah,
to.
I'm not saying no one's doing it. I'm just
No,
saying
no, no, no.
there
I
should.
know. No, no. I certainly I understand you, and you're right. I'm saying you're right, but we are trying to. But there are a lot of MGTOW who just they're stuck into their sort of bubble in they've created their in groups, and it's mostly about bitching about women and complaining about women. There is also a very negative portion of MGTOW who are stuck in their negativity. A lot of negative energy, just complaining and whining about the system, and just complaining about and whining about women and how horrible and mean women are. And when I talk with my friends, we usually we all agree on the fact that a lot of these men are in fact broken men, men who have been negatively affected. Some of these men have attempted suicide. Some of these men, they lost their children. Some of these
Yeah,
men got everything taken away from them because of they got divorced, and of course the system favored the woman. And so I can also understand all the frustration, which translate into real anger, and that anger turns into a very hostile attitude, which in the end is not productive at all. It's not, because you can't even get through, you can't even communicate with them. They're just going to bark, just going to shout at you back. And in the end, you can't even help. And this is what I was talking about when I was in the last hangout with Magnus. He was driving his truck in, I think, in Montana, and he showed me the road, and he was talking just about that. He was saying, I want to help other men, it's a good thing. And I said, Magnus, that is an excellent thing. I can admire you, because that's a very honorable thing to do. But unfortunately, sometimes you just can't help people who don't want to be helped, and in the end,
yeah,
they're just going to treat you like shit because you can help if if you are going to get something back in terms of appreciation. But if the other person is just going to shout at you, all right, then sometimes I try to deal with them, and you know what I get? I get
Hmm?
shut the fuck up. You're just a fucking faggot. Why don't you go back to your feminist organization? I think, okay, all right, okay. Well,
Oh well, that's shitty, man. That's
well,
man. I take all the help I can get, man. And we need it.
yeah, it's not
That's
just that. The,
that's
the one thing that is truly needed is, it's not just friendship or brotherhood. It's unity. You can't just keep shitting on other men because they have a different skin color or they belong to different ethnicity, or because they live in a different country, they speak a different language, or they have a different sexual orientation. It amazes me that these guys are here to find a solution, and as soon as they notice that you don't represent 100% their idea of masculinity, you are somehow a few inches away from their idea of masculinity, and they're just going to come up with the most ridiculous conspiracy theories, right?
mhm.
It gets very, very, very frustrating, very annoying, because in the end, if that is the case, then there is no solution. The one thing is that men have to cooperate. If they don't, then there's not going to be any solution at all.
No, yeah, I completely agree. We have to start banding together and pretty much put the needs of the many above the needs of the few. I was thinking about this last night. I was like, if there was a button I could press where every man could get a good woman to be with, but I'd have to be alone, and I'd press
Mm,
that button in a heartbeat. You have
yeah.
to be prepared to make sacrifices for other people, and be prepared to catch heat for pretty much for some bullshit sake. You have to be able to get ready to put your foot down and stand for something. And I think a lot of these guys are more focused on being frustrated and angry than being prepared to stand for something and find a solution.
Well, the question now is, are they prepared? Are men as a collective prepared to do that, or are they still
I would
stuck
I
in
would
this? Yeah,
I would say some men are. I think
some.
some men are ready. But I don't think as a whole, I don't think a lot of guys are frustrated enough or at that point yet.
Mm. How frustrated do you have to get to open your eyes and understand? How frustrated do you have to get? I mean, borderline with suicide, borderline with
But
absolute depression,
no, I don't. I think you kind of have to get past that first. I think
Mm,
because I can tell you, and I'll probably talk about this in later videos down the
yeah,
line. I used to be suicidal growing up and really depressed and angry a lot too. I never really had like a so-called red pill moment. I've always been switched on, but yeah, I've had to be angry and be frustrated with things and get past it. And then I had to come to terms with I don't want to feel that way. I don't want my friends to feel that way. I don't want my children to feel that way. And I had
mm,
to say, well, I have to do something about this. You when you get to that level of empathy and you decide you don't want anyone to suffer anymore, I think that's really one of the best motivating, at least for me. I'll say for me, one of the best motivating factors is
yeah.
to just be frustrated seeing everyone suffer and you want to do something about it. You don't want them to be angry and hurt anymore. And I think I don't know if a lot of guys have reached that point yet of saying, we have to help men. We have to help people in general. I mean,
Mm,
I don't just do this for men, I do this for women too. You have to get to that point where you want to help people. And I don't think
mm.
a lot of men have gotten there yet.
And did you see that from the perspective of ethnicity and race? I mean, since you're a
No,
black
never.
guy, all right, okay.
Yeah,
And
I've never super identified with black people. Actually, I've been outcast a couple of times from black people and called an Oreo and whatnot. So
Oreo, never heard of that. All
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah, I can. There have been some things with me in the black community. I've had all kinds of friends in general. I've had
Mm,
black friends, Mexican people, and all kinds of people. So I'm not racist by any means because I love and appreciate everyone that I meet. But
mm,
for some black people, I know that you know they say I talk white, and even though my grammar is actually not that good, honestly, I am
mhm,
not a very good speaker but it has, caused some black people to be upset with me and not want to talk to me or deal with me. I know black ladies didn't want to date me because I'm not a thug. That
Mhm.
hurt.
Wow,
That
that
hurt a
that
lot.
is that is big wow,
And
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
that hurt me. And I've had some white ladies not want to date me because I was black. So a nigga could not catch a break.
Well, it's
That
what
was
I
pretty
have
much my
experienced.
experience there.
It's what I have experienced as a gay man because I have received the sort of same attitude from some gay men or some gays and lesbians in these organizations, when they start to sense that you don't 100% fit the sort of, the sort of stereotype of the feminist gay guy, who is completely batshit crazy, and then they start to like push you away. So in a way, I started, but I asked you before the question because I once watched a video, which was kind of interesting. Yeah, a video where I don't know if you know Paul Elam,
Yeah, I do.
and basically he was talking to a black guy, and I found that conversation to be very interesting. Now, I don't particularly like Paul Elam, I don't really agree on many things with him, but what I found very interesting about that conversation, that was I think 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember. But basically this black guy was saying he was pointing out something that really got me thinking. I was thinking this is this is I don't want to say crucial, but it's very important to talk about. And basically the black guy was saying, now you are acting so friendly and now you're starting to understand, to open your eyes, because for the first time the system is backfiring and treating even you guys like shit. But before, when the system was in your favor and it was shitting just over black men or men of minorities and so on, then you were completely blind to these things. Now you want to be, good
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
just
That's not
for
yeah.
completely certain. Yeah, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I get the point, but that's not entirely historically accurate because Irish people were treated rather
Mm,
badly in the past. And sure, maybe
yeah,
it's one of other white people, but it doesn't matter, at least for
yeah.
me it doesn't matter. I think that the most important thing for me about the past is that we
Mm.
learn not to repeat terrible things and
And
that we learn to get the good things
that's a
from the
very
past. And
smart
I
thing.
think a lot of people haven't grasped that, and especially for some black people. Um, I really don't like the victim politics
Oh
and
yeah.
the Black Lives Matter and all of that
Mm.
because I think it spits in the face of all the hard work all the civil rights activists made
And
because
that's
their whole entire struggle was
hmm
for me and my children, or me and my sisters was
hmm
so we didn't have to worry about all this stuff. That was their
yeah.
point, so that we could become even better than they were and treat other white people and Mexican people, better than them. That was the whole point. And yet here we are years later still dealing with this stuff. We still haven't learned the lessons they've given us and we're still stuck in the same loop of feeling like victims when, it's when life is better than ever. Well, not better than ever
And
actually. It's better than what they had, but we still have problems.
And Bas, I totally respect that, and I admire you for saying that. That's a completely honorable thing to say, and I totally respect you for that. But you also have to admit, and I think in part you have already admitted before, a lot of black men out there, unlike you, are not in the same position to make peace with the past, and they are, just like I would say the exact same thing about a lot of gay men, especially effeminate ones. They're not ready to be at peace with the past, and they are stuck in this sort of victim mentality. Right? There are a lot of LGBT people, there are a lot of black people, there are a lot of minorities, and a lot of women who are completely 100% stuck into this sort of I am a victim, the past treated out like shit, and you know what you just said. I share the exact same view, and I admire you, and I 100% agree. But we represent the kind of exceptional circumstance here
Yeah.
because as you said
No, no,
before,
you're right.
yeah. So you know I am uh, I worry that there are a lot of black guys out there and a lot of gay guys and a lot of minorities out there who rather fit, the description of the person who was talking to Paul Elam, rather than someone like you or me who are saying that's in the past. We should focus on what's happening today, not what happened in the past. But a lot of LGBT people, a lot of blacks, a lot of minorities, they don't think the exact same way. They have completely different ideas in mind.
Yeah. No, yeah,
And
you're right, man.
mm, so that's why I was trying to understand. This is the reason why I asked you before. Since I know that you're a black guy, because I think there is still quite a lot of racism in America, right? So, and no, I don't
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
just I don't think
I'm
it's
not
just white
saying.
people
Go
hating,
ahead.
because I think it's both. Sometimes it's both
Yeah,
communities. Yeah.
there. And I don't say what I say, saying that the racism is over and it's done. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Mm,
saying is we're not moving to fix it. What I'm saying
mm,
is we're stuck feeling like victims instead of feeling like we have a hand in what's going on and working towards removing racism, because it goes both ways. We can't say the white man is better than us and treats us badly and does all this. We have
mm,
to acknowledge that we're equals and do what we have to do and work towards it. Even though, like I said, I've dealt with some things in my life, for being black and whatnot, but I'm not a
yeah.
victim.
Yeah. Oh,
But you
yeah.
have to move past that, and I don't think a lot of people have not done that. So I'm not saying that racism's over, right? Because that's not true. There's always going to be racism here and there, but without trying to do anything about it, I say, the folding over and being a victim.
Mm.
That's what I despise about it. That's what I dislike.
And I totally agree with you, like I said before, because I can relate that. I had a lot of shit in my life. I suffered a lot of, my family. They gave me a lot of shit because I'm gay. But I am not going to spend the rest of my life being a victim or crying myself, because that is in the past. So I agree with you 100%. But you see, uh, okay, from the perspective of a gay man who is completely against feminism, I am telling you that in a way, and I don't know if this is going to sound as a paradox to you, but in a way, things got worse, because before, as a gay man, I had to, fight against homophobia and all this hostility coming from a very homophobic society. But today, it's not just the presumption of guilt because I'm a gay man, but it's more the combination of the presumption of, so not black guilt. So I was saying, uh, as a gay man, but now there is also the presumption of male guilt, if you understand what I'm saying. So there is this sort of
Yeah, I
attitude,
got you.
this hateful thing. Before, it was just because I was gay. Now there is also the fact, and I get it, and I do get it. There are a lot of women who, and not just them, who would look at me in a very bad way, think, ah, you're a man, and you're just another man. You're a white man. You must be a fucking patriarchal shitlord. And I get a lot of, I get treated like shit. So this is why I was asking you before. Could it be that things for black men, in a way, got even worse, because before they were facing racism, so they had to fight against the presumption of black guilt. But today there is the combination of the presumption of black guilt together with the presumption of male guilt. And
Yeah, I would say so.
well, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of complicated, so I don't really know how to put it. But I don't know. It's a very complicated situation. It's very. This is the reason why I think that all this shit has got to come to an end. And that this is the reason why I keep saying men have to put their shit together and have to cooperate. Because if we're still stuck in the thing, you're black, you're white, you're straight, you're gay, you're this, you're that, then they're stuck in the sort of left, right wing thing. You're a
Yeah.
religious person, you're a Jew, you're a Muslim. God, there is no way this is ever going to be over.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. No, I think you're right though, man. You're right. Maybe I'm expecting too much from people, but that
Yeah,
is how
no,
I
it's
feel.
no, I don't. I don't want to sound, too pessimistic. It's just that, I look at things for what they are. I call things with their names, and I look around me. I look around myself, and I sometimes just, like shaking my head, like thinking, just I've had enough of just complaining about feminists with women, because I'm seeing a lot of this shit coming primarily from men. Then it doesn't matter if they're white men or black men or straight men or gay men. It doesn't matter. It's just, it's like the real fuel that is making this fire bigger and bigger is coming more from men than from women. And I wish I knew the way to make it stop. To try to find the right way to communicate with other MGTOW, but not only MGTOW, and just make it stop, because it's just so irrational and counterproductive. It's not getting us anywhere. So even if we talk about feminism, like you said before, you're going to make it more excellent. Even if we talk about masculinity, like some MGTOW are trying to do, excellent. But it won't have any effect if men are stuck in this mentality of being broken and victim and throwing shit at one another because they're different, or it's I don't even know how to put it, to be honest.
No, I understand what you're saying. You know,
Yeah.
either we have to start putting our foot down and actually work together instead of
Mm.
snipping at each other because we don't 100% agree.
Yeah, and also Magnus is going to, present a new hangout this Sunday. I don't know if you're available, but he's going to talk about suicide. So, well, if you can't make it to be part of it, at least you can watch it, because it's going to be interesting. I know there are other MGTOW friends who are going to be part of that, and they're going to talk about their stories. Because, as I said before, there are a lot of MGTOW who are, they were affected by this, and they were in a very bad place. I was also in a very bad place, but not to the point of actually trying to commit suicide. But uh, there are a lot of men in the community who were so negatively affected that they were almost there. So I think this is going to be a very interesting podcast
Hello?
this Sunday. Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, you're back.
yeah. Yeah, all right. Oh, okay, okay. Because I was talking. I don't know if you could hear me, but I was talking about the podcast that Magnus is going to.
Yeah, I
Uh,
heard that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So hopefully I might be able to swing by. If not, I'll definitely listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Um, yeah, because I don't think I have a very good connection, because I'm using my phone now. So let me see. All right. And well, what else? I think we covered a lot of topic. We talked about a lot of things. And
Yeah, we're about to hit the 2 hour mark.
oh yeah, oh,
So
wow. Yeah, because I can't even see. I'm on my phone, so I can't really see the time. But it was very interesting. I think you're a good guy, because uh, I like. Well, I certainly enjoy when I see people understanding how toxic and in a way even truly malevolent feminism can be, because it's just a very counterproductive ideology. But the major point that I would say is just it's not self-fueling, it's not auto-fueling. It's also a lot of that is coming from men, or perhaps some very negative attitude that a lot of men have, that they perhaps the most important thing that I would say in this hangout is just it's pointless to just blame feminism, because feminists alone, they wouldn't go anywhere. They need the support from very negative men who are ready to backstab other men in order to get some sort of sense of approval. And I think it would be a good thing to focus on that. Just blaming women or feminist women is not really productive. It, it- I think there is a need to go in a different, in a different way. And instead of just whining that there are some very hateful feminist women who are trying to fuck up the whole thing, it would be far more productive to say, well, that shit is sometimes backed and supported by some very misandric men, right? That's that's my position on that.
Yeah, and I would agree. Definitely, men
Yeah.
need a lot of help. Need a lot
Yes.
of help.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah. So what do you think of MGTOW? Do you have an
Um,
opinion on it, or are you in touch with some MGTOW, or?
yeah, overall, I definitely like it, but I don't
Mhm.
think you should spend any amount of time. When I say you, I mean I'm just second person
Yeah,
narration.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't think anyone should spend a lot of time hating women. I don't think that's conducive to anything.
Mhm.
However, as far as not wanting to get married, that it makes sense. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's and that's just those guys. Overall, my opinion is very positive. I think it's a great thing that MGTOW exists for some men. But the
Yeah.
guys who spend all their time hating women, that is
Mm.
not conducive to fixing any problem. And that's my opinion.
And I agree, because in the end, it turns MGTOW into just a mirror, specular image of feminism, because a lot of feminists just spend their time hating on men and trashing men and blaming men and shaming men. How is that productive? So if that is a good message for the MGTOW who are listening, that's not helpful, because it doesn't really help any of us. It should stay about talking about masculinity in a positive way, and trying to give the idea that uh, it's not just women. There are also a lot of men out there who are part of this sort of binary system of toxic females and toxic males who usually cooperate, perhaps indirectly, but they cooperate to keep the system going in a sort of a gender parasitic ideology that takes two elements. It needs women who keep complaining, but it needs men who keep delivering every time women complain. So, how do we break this system if we just focus on one part of this binary system? We have to also focus on the other part.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's pretty much a good place to stop, man.
Yeah.
So I will say thank you for coming on.
Yeah, yeah.
I do
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me. Yeah, it was a very good, actually very interesting hangout. Thank you a lot for having me here.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, with that being said, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's hangout. And if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. You can comment in the comment box below. And as always, have a great day. I will see you cool cats soon.
All right,
Adios.
bye, bye, bye.